guys, I'm going to teach y'all how to factor out your trinomials. And so before we get started on that, I want to do a quick factor by grouping review, okay? So when we are factoring by grouping, this is not a trinomial because there's 4 terms, so this is a polynomial here. And so as we are factoring by our grouping here, we look at these 4 terms and we say, is there any greatest common factor between these 4 terms? X squared, x, no. Okay, 3 can be taken out of some of them, but nothing can be taken out of all 4. Do y'all feel good with that? So this is where you factor by grouping, okay? So you split it up into 2 little groups, right? Where we have x squared minus 6x. And then we have our second group would be negative 9x plus 54. Do y'all feel good about that? Awesome, okay? So then we are going to factor this first group and factor the little second group here. So guys, what can be factored out of this first one here, y'all? Just an x, right? They both have an x, but that's it. There's no number, there's no other, I guess you could factor out a 1, but we factor out an x. And when we factor out our x, we are left with x squared divided by x is x. Negative 6x divided by x is just negative 6. Are y'all good with that? Then we go here, negative 9x plus 54. And guys, remember, when your leading coefficient is negative, you have to factor out a negative. So we can factor out a negative 9, because they are both divisible by 9. So negative 9x divided by negative 9 gives us a positive x. 54 divided by negative 9 gives us a negative 6. Okay? So then we can rewrite this lovely little step right here as x times x minus 6 minus 9 times x minus 6. Is this ringing bells from Monday? Hopefully. Okay? Then we can look here, and we can now, what can I factor out of this guy right here, y'all? X minus 6. So I can factor out my x minus 6 here, and when we do that, and it's going to be in its lovely little parentheses, and what we have left behind is my x minus 9. Are y'all comfortable with that? So our final answer to this particular problem would be, and it doesn't matter which one goes first here, I'm going to go ahead and do my x minus 9. Is that okay with y'all? So we're going to do x minus 9 times x minus 6. So this would be our final answer. Okay? Now, if we want to check ourselves, the best way to check yourself is by re-multiplying it out here. So x times x gives you x squared. X times negative 6 gives you negative 6x. Negative 9 times x gives you negative 9x. Negative 9 times negative 6 gives you positive 54. So guys, is this the same thing that we got here? Yes, it is. So we know it's correct. Y'all feel good about that? Good little review there. Okay? We're going to do a couple more here where we look at these and we just remind ourselves how to factor by grouping. Alright guys? And I'm going to kind of show you how I go a smidge faster. Alright? So I'm going to show you guys how we do this here. I typically do not write out this next step right here. Okay? So I'm going to kind of do that for you guys right here. So our next one, we have 2x squared minus 7x plus 10x minus 35. Okay? So if we want to factor by grouping, remember we go here. We are going to split it up into 2 lovely groups. So we are going to have 2x squared minus 7x, and then plus 10x minus 35. Do y'all feel good about that? Okay? So we want to factor these two by grouping here. So what can we take out of our first term, y'all, our first group? The only thing we can take out is what? An x. That's exactly right. 2 and 7 don't have a greatest common factor other than 1, so we can just take out an x. So 2x squared divided by x is just 2x. Negative 7x divided by x is negative 7. All right. Then let's take a look at our second guy here. What can we take out of 10 and negative 35? Yeah, we can take out a 5. It's going to be a positive 5, isn't it? Because our leading coefficient is positive. So 10x divided by 5 gives me 2x. Negative 35 divided by 5 gives me negative 7, which that's what we wanted, isn't it? And so guys, typically at this point, I don't then rewrite it again, okay? How I typically do this next step is I go ahead and I just write out x plus 5 and 2x minus 7. Does that make sense, y'all? Like, I don't typically then rewrite it out again because I know that I have one of my factors here and my other factor is with my x and my plus 5. Okay? But if you want to check yourself here, it is always, always good to check yourself. So that's our final answer, which is great. But let's go ahead and check ourselves. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times negative 7, negative 7x. 5 times 2x is 10x. And 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. So that right there is the exact same thing we had up here. Do y'all feel good about that? Yeah? Okay, last little, So another way, so the two ways you can check yourself are with these guys here. And another way you can check yourself, guys, is don't forget, you can also type this lovely guy in the calculator, right? You can go here to your y equals, and you can type in 2x squared minus 7x plus 10x minus 35. Then we go down here and we write x plus 5 times 2x minus 7. Okay? Then we look at this and we check our table. You can also just check your graph. You can check your table and you see that your table values match exactly. But guys, if you check your graph, look at this. That's my weird shaped parabola. And look, I don't know if you caught that. It started blue and then it turned red because, y'all, it graphed one line and then it graphed the second one right on top of it because it's the exact same curve, right? It's the exact same equation. So it graphed them both right on top of each other, so we saw that it was correct. You can also just check your table and see if they're equivalent, okay? So I'm going to give y'all one more, and I want you guys to go ahead and do this on your own, and I want you guys to check yourself. You can either check by multiplying, or you can check by doing that here, okay? So let's go ahead, and your final one here is going to be 3x squared minus 10x minus 21x plus 70. All right, guys? So I want y'all to go ahead and do that. Make sure you guys feel really good about the factoring by grouping, and then we will move on. In the calculator or by multiplying it out, right? So guys, this would be our step here. you separate, you take out the greatest common factor, and then what you have remaining, those are your two factors. We have x minus 7 and 3x minus 10. And when you check it, you see that you still get the exact same answer, or the exact same problem that we started with. All right? Y'all feel pretty good about factoring by grouping? Okay, that's going to be super important as we go on today. All right? Because now we are going to factor polynomials. You're going to have to make your group. Okay? So, I'm going to give you guys a nice little set of steps here. Okay? So you want to factor the following trinomials. Okay? You want to factor the following trinomials. Alright? So there's a lovely little set of steps that we are going to do for this. Okay? So I'm going to start with x squared plus 6x plus 8. Alright, guys? So, in this particular step, guys, can I pull, is there a greatest common factor that we can pull out? No. Is there a way we can separate this by grouping? Well, there's only 3 terms. So is it going to work for us if we group it? No. So what we are going to want to do, y'all, is we are going to want to take this middle term, this 6x, and we are going to split it up into 2 terms so that then we can group them. Okay? So, this is the trick of factoring, is you have to decide how you're going to split the middle. Okay? So, because technically, to get 6x, I could do 1x plus 5x. I could do 2x plus 4x. I could do 3x plus 3x, right? There's a lot of different ways you can get to 6. So, but there is a specific one that makes it work. The other ones don't make it work. So guys, hang tight with me. Ladies. Okay? So guys, these are our steps that we are going to take. Okay? The very first step that you always do when you factor is you factor out the GCF, that greatest common factor. If there's not a greatest common factor, you skip that step. Hooray, we're done with step 1. Okay? And then, the second step you're going to have to do is you are going to have to identify the A, B, and C of your equation. I'm going to tell you what A and B and C are. Okay? This is from your standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Ladies. Okay? So A, you can find your A, you can find your B, and you can find your C. Okay? Your A is always the coefficient to your x squared. Your B is always your coefficient to your x, and your C is always your coefficient, is always the constant. It's not a coefficient, it's your constant. So in this particular case, y'all, my A, what is the A value in this case? It's just 1. Okay? So this guy right here is my A. My B, in this case, is the 6, the positive 6. And my C is this 8. Do y'all feel good about that? And what we are going to do now is once you've identified the A, the B, and the C, you are going to do a little thing where you make an X, all right? You make your X. And this might sound a little bit silly, but y'all, in your X, how you always write this, so you're going to make a little X, and on the top of your X, you do A times C. Someone's looking at the board, I like it, okay? And in the bottom of your X, you do the B, all right? The B goes on the bottom. So you make an x, okay? So in the top of your x, you make, you do a times c, and in the bottom of your x, you do b. So in this case, I'm going to make our lovely little x. It's a little, sorry, it's a little bit skinny there, okay? So what's going to go on the top of my x, y'all? What is a times c? 1 times 8 is just 8. Are you guys good with that? And then on the bottom, we just put 6. Cool? And all of this is so that we can find some of these middle terms. Okay? So our step 4 here is you want to find the 2 factors that multiply to AC and add to B. Okay? So you want to find the 2 factors that multiply to A times C but add to B. So we want to find the 2 factors that multiply to AC and add to B. So guys, can you think of anything that multiplies to 8 but adds up to 6? What we got? 2 and 4. Are you guys comfortable with that? So this right here tells us what those 2 middle terms are going to be. Because 2 times 4 gives you 8, but 2 plus 4 gives you 6. Are you guys comfortable with that? We want to find the 2 numbers that multiply to AC but add to B. 2 times 4 gives you 8. 2 plus 4 gives you 6. Good? So now, what we can do is we can take those middle terms, and my new equation is going to look like x squared plus 2x plus 4x plus 8. So this right here is the step we call split the middle term. Okay? So we just split up that 6x into 2x plus 4x. Are you guys comfortable with that? 6x became 2x plus 4x. Because guys, what happens if we added 2x and 4x together? We get 6x. So now, this is the hardest part of factoring. Finding those 2 numbers right there. Okay? And so this one's pretty easy. But, so they want to, this is the hardest part of factoring. So they want to find those 2 numbers. Alright guys? So, now that we've split our middle term, can we factor by grouping? Yes, because we have created 4 terms. So now, I can split this guy up into x squared plus 2x and 4x plus 8. Are you guys comfortable with that? So our 6th step here is factor by grouping. And our 7th step is that we have to check it at the end. Okay guys, so those are our 7 little steps here every time. So let's take a look at this. Let's factor this guy by grouping. So if I factor x squared and 2x, what can I pull out there? Of x squared and 2x? X, exactly. Okay, and what we have left behind is x, because x squared divided by x is x. 2x divided by x is 2. Okay, and then we go here. 4x and 8. What can I take out of those 2? Positive 4. Gentlemen. Positive 4. So then 4x divided by 4 is x, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So my 2 factors end up being x plus 4 and x plus 2. Are you guys comfortable with that? So this right here is my factored form. So we just factored by grouping, and then step number 7, it asks us to check. All right? So x times x is going to be x squared. X times 2 is going to be plus 2x. 4 times x is plus 4x. And 4 times 2 is plus 8. All right? So then we put these guys together, and we will have x squared plus 6x plus 8. Is that what we started with? X squared plus 6x plus 8? Aha! It sure is. That is exactly what we started with. All right. So we've done this. So guys, honestly, here's the deal. With factoring, it's not that it's necessarily uber complicated or difficult. It's just a lot of little steps to follow, okay? And so here's the thing. You will get better with factoring only with practice, okay? So we're going to do this next one here, and we're going to check it. And I'm going to have you guys help me walk through it. Guys, make sure you have these steps written down, okay? Because you're going to follow these steps every single time, okay? We're going to follow these steps every single time. So now let's try number 2 here, okay? So number 2, we are going to have 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. All right, so my first step, what is the first step going to be, Eric? What do we have to do first? Factor out a greatest common factor. Do we have a greatest common factor between 2x squared, 11x, and 12? Nope. So we're done. Step 1 is done. That's super nice, right? Okay. Second step. What do we need to do here? Let's see here. Emiliana, what do we got? Second step. Okay. So my A is 2. What's my B? Positive 11. That's nice. And what's my C? 12. Excellent. Okay, so we have our A, our B, and our C. Once we've identified the A, the B, and the C, so guys, those first 2 steps are really easy, right? We're not even doing any math. We're just, well, I guess if you factor out your greatest common factor, you got to do a little math there. Okay, then we're going to make our X. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make my lovely little X here. What goes on the top of my X? Will, I know you know this because you told me originally. What do we got?
8 times C is 24.
24. Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Then, what goes on the bottom of my X? Adrian, you want to help me out?
Bottom, 11.
11, because that's the B. And it's a positive 11, okay? If it was a negative, I'd put a negative. And then we got this here, okay? Now, we want to find the 2 terms that multiply together to get 24, but add up to 11. Abby, what do you got for me? 3 and 8. Excellent. So we have 3 and we have 8. Because 3 times 8 is 24. 3 plus 8 is 11. Okay? Now with this one, hopefully the goal is that you're able to do that in your head, or at least do it by checking. Guys, if you can't think of it, you can make your list of factors here. Okay? Don't ever forget 1 and 24. That's a super common one. 2 and 12. 3 and 8. 4 and 6. You can make your factors and find them there too. Does that make sense? You could list out all the ways you can multiply to 24 to get it. Okay? Another way, if you are having trouble, now hopefully with 24 you were able to see it, but guys, on your homework, there's going to be some that are a little more complicated. So, how you can find these lovely factor pairs, I want you guys to look at this. So, how you can find them, you need to write them out here, but to find them in the calculator, you can go to y equals, and you can type in, so in the calculator, if you are struggling, calculator, you can type in y equals 24 divided by x, your number divided by x. And then you look at your table and you find whole number pairs. Alright? So if you are struggling to do this on your own, then guys, these are the little steps for how to do it in the calculator. You do 24 divided by x, and then you do second graph. You go to your table, and then, I'm going to have to zoom in a smidge because it's a little far away. You guys want to find the whole number pairs here. Let's see if that helps. There it is. Okay? So you want to find these whole number pairs. So for example, for 24, I'm over here in the negative, but guys, 1 and 24, that's a whole number pair. 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, 5 and 4.8, that's not a whole number. You got decimals, so that's not a good pair. 6 and 4, well, we already have that one written down, so do I need to write it down again? No. So guys, 24 is pretty nice, but you can see all these ones that have decimals, that's not our factor pair. Only the ones that are whole number pairs are your factor pairs. So 9's not a factor, 10's not a factor, 11's not, 12 is because of 12 and 2. So guys, if you're struggling with how to find the factors, then you do your number divided by x, and you find those whole number pairs, alright? So now that we have found this, we can go ahead and we can rewrite our lovely little guy here into 2x squared plus 3x plus 8x plus 12. Alright guys? Y'all feel good about that? So we just separated it out. Don't forget your x's, okay, when you're doing that, guys. You do 3x plus 8x plus 12. Then we want to go ahead and we want to factor by grouping because our 3x and our 8x are right there. Okay, we want to factor by grouping. So our first group is going to be 2x squared plus 3x. My second group is going to be plus 8x plus 12. Y'all feel good about that? Then we factor out the greatest common factor here. So what is the greatest common factor of 2x and 2x squared and 3x here? Just an x, right? Is that right? Okay. So 2x squared divided by x is going to be 2x. 3x divided by x is going to be 3. Alright? 8x and 12. What is our greatest common factor here? What do we got, y'all? 4, yes! It's going to be a positive 4. So 8x divided by 4 gives us, hopefully, yes, 2x. 12 divided by 4 gives us 3. So my lovely factors here will be x plus 4 and 2x plus 3. And you can check yourself by multiplying it out, or you can check yourself by graphing them both in the calculator. The one you're given and the one here. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and multiply it out. 2x squared plus 3x plus 8x plus 12 is going to be 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. That where I started with, it sure is, so I know it's correct. Alright guys, a couple questions about this. Some people will ask me, what happens if you do it in a different order? Alright guys, check it out. This is super cool. So guys, here, what happens if you put the 8 first instead of the 3? Okay? So guys, I'm going to show y'all. In my first period, my first period class did the 8x first instead of the 3. Okay? And guys, check it out. The only thing that was different was the factors we pulled out. We pulled out a 2x and a 3 and got left behind the x plus 4. On the one that I just did with you, we pulled out the x and the 4 and we have the 2x plus 3 behind. So y'all, all we did not change our answer at all. It's just in a different order. Does that make sense? So guys, it's still the same. It doesn't matter if x plus 4 is first or if 2x plus 3 is first. So guys, it won't matter which factor you put first as long as you just follow through with the factoring by grouping. Y'all feel good about that? Okay, cool. So now, we're going to do a couple here I'm going to lead you guys on this one, and then I want you guys to do it on your own, okay? So I'm going to get started with this one on number 3 here. Okay, guys, so for number 3, we are going to start with negative 2x squared plus 10x plus 48. Alright, y'all? So the first thing we have to do is we have to recognize. What's our first step? Actually, what's our first step? GCF, yeah, factor out the greatest common factor. Do we have a greatest common factor? It's in there. You always check that first. Ooh, what can we actually take out of there? Yeah, we can take out a negative 2. So this right here is going to be the GCF, right? So that negative 2 is going to be our GCF. And what is going to be left behind? Let's take a look here. Negative 2x squared divided by negative 2. We are just left with that 10. 10x divided by negative 2 leaves us with negative 5x. 48 divided by negative 2 leaves us with negative 24. So now, when you make your x, and when you do all the things, you are going to identify your A, your B, and your C from this side. Okay? So the one that you factored out. So there's our A, 1, there's our B, and there is our C. Okay? So now that we've done our first 2 steps, we factored our GCF out, then we identified the A, the B, and the C. Now I want you guys to make your X. Alright? So, Maria, what is going to be on the top of my X here? Yeah, because 1 times negative 24 is negative 24. What is going to be on the bottom of my X here? Negative 5. Alright. So, now what 2 numbers are going to multiply to negative 24 but add to negative 5? Well, guys, if we have a negative number, then one of these has to be positive and one of these has to be negative. Does that make sense? So one of these has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. So what 2 numbers will multiply to negative 24? Yeah, what do you think, Ian? Okay, we got negative, we got 3 and 8, right? So which one's going to be negative? There we go. It's going to be a negative 8 and a positive 3. Okay? So guys, if your AC term, your A times C term is negative, then one factor must be negative. Does that make sense, y'all? If your AC term is negative, then one of those factors must be negative. Okay? Now, if my B is also negative, then the bigger one is negative. If my B is positive, then the smaller one is going to be negative. Does that make sense, y'all? Because, so if this was a positive 5, then what Ian said first would have been correct. It would have been positive 8 and negative 3. Does that make sense? So if your AC term is negative, then one factor must be negative. Alright, y'all? And you guys have to determine which one is negative based on that B there. Okay? So we're going to split our middle term up, and we are going to write this as x is minus 8x plus 3x minus 24. Are y'all good with that here? Y'all good? Okay. So now we're going to keep going. So now that we have done, we split our middle term, so now we just have to factor by grouping. So I'm going to split these lovely little guys up. We have x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 24. Okay? So now that I've split them up, I can factor by grouping here. So x squared minus 8x what we would take out of this guy here is just take out an x, and what we have left behind is an x minus 8. Are you guys okay with that there? And then, what can we take out of this 3x plus minus 24? We take out a 3, so that leaves us with 3x divided by 3 is x, negative 24 divided by 3, negative 8. So my final two factors are going to be x plus 3 and x minus 8. But what can't we forget? The GCF that we took out at the very beginning is also up here at the very beginning, okay? So this guy right here, so please don't forget your GCF, alright? That's super, super important. Don't forget your GCF, okay? Then we can check ourselves, okay? So I'm going to type in my equation of negative 2x squared, there we go, negative 2x squared plus 10x plus 48, and then I type in negative 2 times x plus 3 times x minus 8. We're going to see what this looks like when we graph it. Okay, we got one line, and the other line graphs right on top, so we know they're exactly the same. We also can look at our table and see they're exactly the same right there. All the way down, so they're all equivalent with one another. So you can check it by multiplying it out or by putting it in your calculator. Alright? Alright, let's do another one here. Okay? So I'm going to do one more here. So, we are going to, and then I want to see if you guys can identify a lovely pattern. Okay, we have x squared minus 10x plus 16. Alright, so, what is our, actually, I'm going to have you guys do this one on your own, okay? So, select two factors. We're negative 8 and negative 2. What's your question, Abby? Yep. So, here's the deal. Abby was saying she did negative 2 and negative 8. And guys, that's totally great, alright? Because when she factored by grouping, she pulled out an x minus 8 and had your x minus 2 on the bottom, right? Yeah. So your factors just look like x minus 8 times x minus 2. Totally fine, okay? Because when you re-multiply it out, you still get the same answer, right? And so great, great question, okay? And so even if you flip the order of these middle terms, you're still going to get the right answer, okay? One thing I want you guys to recognize is, guys, in this case, my AC is positive, but my B is negative. So both of those middle terms were negative. So guys, if, this is kind of important, if your A times C is positive, both factors will have the same sign. Okay guys? If your A times C is positive, both your factors will have the same sign. Okay? If the B is negative, both factors are negative. If your B is positive, both factors are positive. Does that make sense, y'all? So in this particular form, sorry, I kind of wrote that out wrong. But y'all, in this case, if your A times C is positive, both your factors will have the same sign. The sign is determined by what if your B is positive or negative. In this case, our B was negative, so both factors were negative. If your B is positive, both of your factors are positive. Are you guys comfortable with that? Okay. Cool. So now, I'm going to have y'all do 3 more And then let's all do your homework, okay? So let's take a look at this here. So any questions, any other questions for me so far? No? You guys are doing awesome, alright? So guys, here's the deal. Factoring, like I said before, not crazy complicated, but it is super important that we get it right. Alright, so let's look at number 5 here, okay? So I'm going to have y'all do 4x squared plus 19x minus 5. Alright guys, and I'm going to show y'all, I think, a little bit of a faster way to even do this, okay? So you have less, here's the deal. I think the hardest thing about factoring sometimes is you guys don't like to write stuff out. So I'm going to teach you how to do this by writing correct. You want to do it correctly, but as little writing as possible. Okay? So let's check this out, guys. So we have our A, we have our B, and we have our C. Right? So, first of all, wait, can we factor out a GCF? I forgot to check. No, we can't. So guys, we're going to make our X over here. Okay, we're going to make an X. So guys, what goes on the top of my X here? A times C. So y'all, what's A times C, y'all? Negative 20. That means one of my factors has to be negative. Okay? My B is 19. What two factors multiply to 20 but add to 19? It's the one you always forget. Guess what? Yes! 20 and negative 1. Guys, so many people forget about that one. The one and itself, alright? Because it's 20 times negative 1 is negative 20. But 20 plus negative 1 is positive 19. Excellent job, Luna. Thank you. So then, when we have this here, well, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my lovely guy here. It's 4x squared plus 20x minus 1x minus 5. So I split my middle term like so. Alright guys? And to save myself from writing another step, what I like to do is I like to do my factor by grouping just right here. Where I go like off to the left and off to the right. Are you guys okay with that? So we don't have to write it again, just separate it. I just separate it like this. Okay? And then I go, cool. Well, what can I take out of 4x and 20x? 4x. Okay? And then what I'm left with is x plus 5. Are you all good with that? Okay? And then, what can I take out of negative 1x and negative 5? Negative 1. That's it. Negative 1. So then, negative 1 divided by negative 1x is just x. Negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a positive 5. So now, I've even shortened my steps, and now we have 4x minus 1 times x plus 5. Alright? So there's just a little bit less writing that you have to do. I like it because there's a little bit less to do. Does that help? Then you definitely want to check yourself. You do 4x times x gives you 4x squared. 4x times 5 gives you 20x. Negative 1x and negative 5. Those two guys go together to give you 4x squared plus 19x minus 5. Alright? Alright, let's do another one. Okay, we're only going to do like 2 more. Alright. 3x squared minus 2 fourths and 3. Interesting. And I'm going to jump down here to 7. I'm going to write 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. Alright, so these are our last two that we're going to do. One thing I want you guys to recognize, is there a B value on this one? So So guys, in this case, your b is equal to 0. Alright guys? Because your b is always the coefficient to x. Is there an x? No. So your b is going to be equal to 0. Also, what can we take out of 3 and 243? Hopefully. Aha! So what we're left with is x squared minus 81. Okay? So there is no b value. What is my a value in this guy? Your a is 1. You gotta go to the one that you factored out. You do have a GCF. And what is my c value? Normally I don't write it out like this, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's negative 81. Alright guys, so in this case, we have an a of 1, a b of 0, because there's no x, and a c of negative 81. Guys, I can't tell you how many people list the a as 1 and the b is negative 81. They just say they're up and then they say c is 0. That's not going to work. Alright guys? We do have our GCF. We can't forget that guys. So now when you make your x, a times c is negative 81. b is, goes on the bottom here at 0. So what two numbers multiply to negative 81 but add up to 0? It's going to be the same. There you go. We're going to do I'm going to go negative 9 and positive 9. Because 9 times 9 gives you 81. Negative 9 times 9 gives you 0. Alright? So now, when we write this guy, we are going to split up this kind of invisible middle term here. There's nothing there. So we are going to write as x squared minus 9x plus 9x minus 81. Are you guys good with that? And then we can do our little shortcut trick here where we don't have to rewrite everything. And what do we take out of x squared and negative 9x? Take out x. And what do we take out? Oh, and we are left with x minus 9. And what do we take out of 9x and 81? We take out a positive 9. And we are still left with x minus 9. So my two factors are x plus 9 times x minus 9. But what can't we forget? The GCF. And that is going to give us our correct answers here. You can plug it in your calculator and check. But guys, don't forget the GCF in your final answer. Alright? So, I want you guys to do number 7. I'm going to walk around and check as we go. And we are going to check out the Alright. So this is the final answer for number 7 here. You can see that I factored out we found the two factors of negative 6 and negative 6 and multiplied to 36, but added the negative 12, separated that out to be 4x squared minus 6x minus 9. And then we did our factor by using, we get our two factors of 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3, which can also be written as 2x minus 3 squared. So that is